This is the story of how I went from a brand spanking new real estate agent in the summer of 2022 to closing over $38 million in sales and generating over $1 million in GCI over the next 3 years. In 2025, I became a top 250 agent in my market of Charleston, South Carolina, out of over 7,500 agents. I'm an Icon Award recipient at eXp Realty, and in 2024, I founded the Elevate team, where I serve as CEO. Today, I still serve my clients and my team, as well as help other real estate agents build a life and a business that they love. Hi, I'm Sarah, and today I want to get super personal with you and share my complete story of how I went from a brand new agent knowing absolutely nothing to achieving the successes and milestones that I just shared with you. While real estate has been completely life-changing and is definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, it's not all glamorous and it didn't just come out of thin air. I worked really hard to get here, I made sacrifices, and I dedicated my time and energy to ensuring that I was successful. In this video, I just want to talk to you as if we were sitting down in real life over a cup of coffee and I'm just sharing my story with you. Yes, there are takeaways and lessons throughout this video that you can glean, but my intention today is just to share my life and my heart with you as a real human being. I hope that you find encouragement from this, whether you're a brand new agent or whether you have been an agent for a while and you're in a place where you're trying to grow your career. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I got licensed and joined eXp Realty in July of 2022. Now at the time, like I said, I had zero experience. I knew nothing about real estate. I'd never even bought a house myself. I had been a perpetual renter. It really was a completely new frontier for me at the time. Before real estate, I had done a variety of things in my career, mainly in hospitality, digital marketing, and the personal development space, all of which turned out to be quite helpful in my real estate career. So just to paint the picture of my background a little bit, my parents owned restaurants. The first one opened when I was in 4th grade, and they grew that to be a chain with franchises, and there ended up being a few dozen restaurants over the course of years. From the time I was in middle school, I was working in the restaurants. My friends were at the movies or at the mall, and there I was on a Friday and Saturday night, bussing tables, working the host stand, and doing the takeout. I think it helped instill in me a very strong work ethic, and because my parents were entrepreneurial, I had it modeled to me to take pride in what you do and execute things at the highest level. This imprinted on me from a very young age. I feel like myself and my siblings are all entrepreneurial, partly because it's literally in our DNA, and partly because this was our model as kids. So I worked in restaurants for a lot of my life, and that really helped hone and have customer service just come really naturally to me. But then for about 8 years before I got into real estate, I worked in digital marketing, mainly in the personal development and health and wellness spaces. I helped a personal development company both with their online customer service as well as their in-person events. I even moved to the Netherlands for about 1.5 years to help them open up a retreat center. I also helped them create their coach and facilitator trainings, as well as helped to plan and run their online courses and programs. I also helped them with their marketing launches and funnels, and a lot of that laid the foundation for sparking my interest in the online marketing space. At the same time, I was learning how to build a blog from scratch. This was back in the blogging days, right? Where you went to blogs for information. We're now in the AI stage of the world, but AI even still pulls from blogs and websites. So blogs aren't completely antiquated, but this was really back in their heyday. I taught myself WordPress and at the time had a dream of being a food blogger. I've been gluten-free for over 15 years now, but back at this time, which was about 2016, I was also vegan. I was vegan for a few years. I'm not anymore. It's something that I personally didn't feel was a healthy lifestyle for me. But back then I had a vegan and gluten-free food blog. I taught myself everything from photography to recipe development to all the technical sides of blogging to how to monetize the blog. A couple years in, while I was still a very small fish in the food blogging world, I was still monetizing with sponsored content, ads, affiliate income, and I ended up selling my blog for $8,000, which at the time was huge to me. I'd never earned that big of a lump sum at one time in my entire life, and I was super stoked. From there, I went on to help other solopreneur businesses, especially bloggers, grow their online footprint. There was one in particular that I worked for a few years who was a health and wellness blogger. I ghost wrote our blog content, I managed our affiliates and our sponsors, I wrote our email campaigns, I helped with PR. I even ended up helping to create a course called the Six Figure Blog Academy. We had a six-figure launch when we first opened the doors to that program, and it was all a very exciting time and great for that period of my life. But eventually I did get a little bit tired of it and I just wanted something new and different. I had been working from home for so many years and I just felt like I wanted to be out in my city. I love Charleston and thought it'd be fun to do something more in person. I had a very brief stint of a year selling timeshare packages of all things, which is even weird to say because if you know me at all, that does not seem like something that would be aligned for me, and it really wasn't. Personally, it was absolutely terrible for me. It's probably a great job for somebody, but I personally do not recommend it. So a few months into that job, I started studying to get my real estate license. Why? Well, real estate just honestly always looked fun. I had no idea what I was getting into. I was kind of that typical person that binged watched HGTV and absolutely loved all the shows and thought that it just seemed really fun. I did not know at all what the day-to-day was going to be like. I thought, I'm just gonna get my license because this seems interesting and we're gonna see what happens. I was also very interested in investment properties. At the time, Airbnb was really huge and that sounded very fun to me, and I just loved the idea of growing that type of income asset. So I started doing a lot of research on my own, reading books, listening to podcasts about investment properties. Now to this day, I still unfortunately do not own an investment property, but it is one of my goals for the future. But it's something that kickstarted my interest in real estate. So I thought that I would get my license so that I could learn on a deeper level all the ins and outs of the industry, and that would really help me in my real estate investing path. Another big reason, if I'm being honest, is that I knew that real estate had a big income potential. I was sick of living paycheck to paycheck and in debt. That had been my experience throughout my adult life, and I really wanted a different future for myself. I had a lot of debt at the time. I still had $23,000 in student loans and at least $30,000 of credit card debt. It might have been $40,000 or more. I honestly can't quite remember right now, but it was a lot. No judgment, please. We all have hard times and make decisions in our life that we later down the road look back on and wish that we could change. But ultimately, I just never had a high-paying job where I could get ahead. Fast forward to today, and I was able to pay all of that off, plus buy a house, and so things are definitely looking much better now. So once I got licensed and started to learn more about what real estate actually is and what you need to do to be successful, I found out that I actually really love this subject. I love marketing, and so much of real estate comes down to marketing, whether you're marketing your listing or whether you're marketing yourself as a business owner to get clients. Couple that with my hospitality background, I really feel like I'm just naturally friendly and responsive and great at customer service. And that's also a big part of this industry. Above everything else, I really care about people and having integrity and doing the right thing. And that desire just to help and to be of service really trumps everything else. If you have that in your core, I do think that you can figure out the rest of this business. All right, so once again, I got licensed in summer of 2022. I just missed the COVID golden era of real estate where everybody was getting licensed and houses were selling so fast with multiple offers above list price. We all know that those times were crazy. There was more demand than ever in history. But the thing is, I did not get licensed until July of 2022. And if you were licensed at that time, then you probably remember that that is when interest rates started to rise at the fastest time ever in US history. Transactions slowed down to some of the lowest numbers in decades. There were class action lawsuits and agents were fleeing the industry. People told me it was a bad time to become a real estate agent. And with all those factors, there really was a lot up against me. I couldn't just jump into the market like some of the COVID agents could a couple years before and get instant business. At this time in 2022, things were really drying up. Agents that had had careers for years or decades were struggling. It was really a tough time for agents in the industry. But sometimes I think ignorance can be bliss. And by that, I mean that, yes, I knew that some of the stuff was going on, but I just wanted to help people. And yes, I wanted to make some money. And I wasn't so bought into these stories and to telling myself that this is going to be so hard and this is terrible. I do a lot of mindset work, and I just wasn't going to let any of that stuff stop me or get in my way to think that I couldn't be successful. There are successful agents in every market, and you just have to pivot and look at the strategies that are working now and be able to find the business. So I got my first client pretty much right away. It was a referral from my brother, and it was a couple who was pregnant, and so they were ready to buy a house. And it worked out really great. I had my mentor at eXp Realty who helped me learn the ropes. And so after just this one client, I decided that I really loved this industry. And instead of just wanting to understand it for my own investment purposes, I could actually see myself now doing this full time as an agent and just really helping people buying and selling. I had my first closing in September. And then in November of 2022, I got my second client under contract. That was a referral from a lender, and that client closed in January of 2023. So in November, once I got that client under contract, I went ahead and quit my job, which, as you recall, I was selling timeshares, and I feel like that job was just sucking my soul. I really didn't enjoy it. And I'm the type of person that I just love to dive deep into things. If I decide that I'm interested in something, I just want to commit and go all in. I don't like doing something half-heartedly. And so I quit my job despite having no savings, no other clients in the pipeline, no spouse or other career to financially support me. I really had no safety net, and I needed to make this work. I do think with high risk comes high reward. And having that pressure on myself really had me take action on things that I probably wouldn't have done if I was just coasting and had other things to fall back on. So I did flounder for a little bit at first. I wasn't sure where to place my attention. We all know there are so many shiny objects in this industry, and we try to go wide and do all of the things instead of focusing on one thing and mastering it. On the client front, I did have a couple irons in the fire in early 2023. Luckily, it just worked out that both my brother and my parents wanted to buy houses that year, so I was able to help both of them. And I had another client find me on Facebook somehow. I still kind of don't know how she found me on Facebook, but I'm not mad at it. It worked out great. But besides that, I really had no other pipeline going into 2023. Now, I knew that YouTube was going to be the ticket. I had that gut feeling, and based on my experience in digital marketing that I talked about earlier, I knew that video was the next frontier. And it already had been the frontier for years, but I just knew it was going to continue that direction. Now, in my previous career, I had done all kinds of things: blogging, podcasting, Instagram, Facebook groups, but I had actually no experience specifically on YouTube as a platform. I just knew that it made sense and that it's where a lot of real clients are searching. So I knew that if I wanted to expand my business, that I needed to get on a bigger platform where people could actually find me. I am super introverted in nature. I really do not like networking events or really anything that's too social. And if I had to cold call or a door knock, then there's no way I would have ever even gotten started in this industry. So I needed to find a platform that worked well for me. And to be honest, I was very scared of video at first. It is not a natural thing to just put a camera in front of your face and talk to yourself in an empty room. It's really awkward at first. And even after years of doing it, it still feels awkward, and I still trip up over myself all of the time and make mistakes. But it was a lot less intimidating than going and talking to a crowd full of people. So I decided to push myself out of my comfort zone and just go ahead and give my best stab at YouTube. And by the way, if you want to know why YouTube is such an amazing lead generation machine, check out my other video after this one, where I give 6 reasons why YouTube is the best lead gen that you're ignoring. So between that and the story that I'm about to tell you, you are truly going to see the power of YouTube. So I did 2 things in May of 2023. It was really do or die time. Like I said, I had a couple of clients, which was great to just keep me afloat and to pay my bills, but I really needed to get a bigger pipeline open. So first, I signed up for a course called Passive Prospecting, which teaches you how to do YouTube for real estate agents. And I followed that pretty much to a T. Second, I also got a coach. Her name is Jan Copeland. She's amazing. Shout out to you, Jan. I still work with her to this day. She is absolutely incredible for the mindset side of things, as well as building your own confidence and authority and creating a business that is aligned for you, that's not cookie cutter, that also best serves your clients. So I invested in both a coach and a program that I knew were going to help get me to the next level. And again, at the time, I didn't have money saved up to invest in these things. I did have to put them on a 0 interest credit card at the time. And again, it worked out. I was able to pay that off. But sometimes you do have to spend money to make money. So I launched my channel on June 13th, 2023. I started with a few videos and then I was posting 2 every week at the time. 28 days later, I got my first phone call from a YouTube lead. I remember picking it up. Hello, this is Sarah. And she starts telling me about how she saw me on YouTube and how she's coming to town in a couple of weeks. And I just remember my heart pitter-pattering, and in my head, I'm going, oh my gosh, it actually worked. Somebody's calling me. And it was so exciting. I couldn't believe how much she wanted to share with me on the phone. To me, this was a complete stranger, but we ended up talking for over 40 minutes and she just poured her heart out to me, and she was so sweet. And that's one of the magical things about YouTube, is that you're building such a great relationship with people as they watch your videos, even though you've never met them in person before, but they feel like they know you and they like you and trust you. And that's really the magic of it. A couple weeks after that, I got my second phone call from a YouTube lead, and 53 days after launching my channel, I was under contract with that second lead. It was a new construction community and it was 5% commission because, again, buyers had dried up, so builders were really paying big bonuses at the time. So I was super excited. So this was less than 2 months after I launched my channel. Like I said, I was putting out 2 videos a week. At this time, I had 45 subscribers, 14 videos, I'd gotten 2 leads, and one of them was under contract. Now, YouTube is a long game. It's not usually an immediate return on investment, but personally, I think getting your first person from YouTube under contract in 2 months is really great. Everybody has a different timeline. Some people have gotten their first lead in a couple of days. That's not the norm. Some people, it takes months and months to start getting that momentum. Now, what's really interesting is that 2 months in, right around this time, I did a video on 55+ communities in my area. At the time, I knew absolutely nothing about 55+ communities. I'd never been in them. I honestly didn't even really know that they existed. Literally, I knew nothing about them. I did a bunch of research because that very first lead that ever called me from YouTube actually was interested in 55+ communities. So I extensively researched all of them so that I felt really confident when she came to town. While we were out touring, I thought I might as well just get some B-roll and record little intros of myself while we're here so that I can make a video about this. It's something I probably wouldn't have made a video about for quite some time if it weren't for this client's interest, because again, it just wasn't really on my radar, but it turned out to be the biggest blessing. I did a tour of the 6 new construction 55+ neighborhoods in my area, and it instantly became the most popular video on my channel. To this day, it's my #1 video and has 27,000 views as of the time of this recording, which is February of 2026. In the first 2 weeks after I published that video, I got 2 new clients. And by new clients, I mean people that actually signed by your agency with me, as well as a few others who had called or emailed to ask questions. They were further out in their process, but all of this happened just from 1 video in the first 2 weeks after publishing it. At the time of this recording, I've now closed $17.5 million in volume just from my 55 plus clients. And right now I have $3.6 million in volume under contract from this niche alone. This does not include any referrals from those clients, which I've also earned. For example, if they had a home to sell in their home state, I've been able to earn referral income by introducing them to a client in their town. It does not include any personal referrals they've given me, like friends or family or other people that have now also resulted in transactions from these clients. And it does not include any transactions that my team has now had the opportunity to serve in this niche. I now hand the majority of people coming in to our team off to the other agents. So the numbers I shared are just my personal production and does not account for the ripple impact that every single client has. I've now become an expert in 55 plus, and I honestly love it. It's not a niche I would have chosen for myself because I just don't think it was on my radar to even think to work with retirees. But now that I'm here, I truly love it. And niching down on YouTube is a subject for another video, but I do think it's super important. Plus, as you can see, the dividends and ROI on YouTube are unlike any other lead gen. So yes, I do spend money on editing and occasionally money on equipment that's mostly a one-time charge I have upgraded over the years. But overall, it's a fairly small cost to get started, and that return on investment is just amazing. Okay, so backing up a little bit, I closed my first ever YouTube buyer on December 1st of 2023. That was the one I mentioned a minute ago, who was that new construction client and was the second ever call that I got from my channel. We had gone under contract in August, but since it was new construction, it wasn't ready until December. I had another closing in December from a YouTube lead. So overall, it took me about 6 months from the time I started my channel until I actually started closing deals from my YouTube leads. Overall in 2023, I had 6 closings in total, 2 of which were from YouTube, and my total volume was 4.6 million. The best part though was the pipeline I was creating. So in December of 23, I had over $67,000 of GCI under contract going in to 2024. That was from 4 transactions and 1 referral that were all under contract. I was truly starting to get momentum, and I was just so excited. The amount of relief I had to have that much income under contract before the year even started was truly mind-blowing to me. To continue to share the power of momentum of YouTube, at 1 year in, so June of 2024, I had 55 videos published. I had 1,230 subscribers, and I had closed 10 clients plus 3 referrals, which was about $157,000 in GCI. I also had 18 clients and 1 referral under contract at this time, which was another $279,000 in GCI. All of that was set to close in that year. I do a lot of new construction, so my contract to closing timelines can be longer. But again, all of this was just staggering to me. I mean, it truly blew any expectation or any even wish or dream that I had out of the water. I'd never earned this much money in my entire life. And it was such a huge blessing and honor to serve these clients. And I was truly so grateful. And while all of this was really great, I still had a problem. And my problem was I had too much business coming my way. I didn't have the best systems. I was okay. I'm a very organized person. So in that way, I was able to keep up with my clients under contract, but I definitely dropped the ball on some of the leads that I just never followed up with because I ran out of time. I was trying to service all these clients under contract, new clients coming in. And with YouTube, you get so many buyers. And so I was out all the time in these communities, showing properties. It was just so much to keep up with. The other issue was at this time, I started to get really sick. For years, I had struggled on and off with different GI issues, but things really hit ahead at this same time. We ended up discovering mold in the home that I was living in. So at the time, I was living with my boyfriend in the home that he owns. It's an old townhouse from around 1980, and it was just not built well. And we slowly discovered mold throughout the house in different locations. And just when we discovered one area, we would find another. We had some in the attic, we had some under the stairs. We had some in the ductwork, and every time we would do remediation, it seemed like we would find a new area. Then we had a roof leak over the laundry room, and to top it off, we had a contractor doing some updating. We had just updated the bathrooms, and he was in the attic walking to go do something, and he tripped and he fell into the water line. These are the really old polybutylene pipes, and seriously, if you touch them, they crack. They're so brittle after a few decades. So this pipe just cracked and we had water pouring through our house. This was in the attic, so it started pouring through the ductwork. The bottom floor started flooding, and the whole house water shutoff is out at the street, and you have to have one of those tools to turn it off. So by the time we got all that situated, there had been a lot of damage. There was so much water sitting in insulation that the ceiling ended up caving in our bedroom, which is also where my office was and where I recorded videos. So this whole thing just became an utter nightmare. So not only was I dealing with all of these issues at our home, but I had started to get very sick from the mold exposure. I think mold is a whole other topic of conversation, and different people have different susceptibilities to how they're impacted. It seemed like my boyfriend and his daughter weren't impacted, they felt fine, but I had some potentially underlying issues that made me more susceptible, or just my DNA, genetics, whatever it is, that it really did impact me. So I went to a local clinic here that specializes in helping people detox their bodies from mold, and through that process, I actually got sicker. There's something called a Herx reaction when you start detoxing, which is when you essentially flood your body with toxins in the effort to remove them. But if you don't do it in the right way, you end up just bringing all of this into your system, and it can completely just wipe you out and make you feel terrible. I felt like I had the flu, I had major brain fog, I was exhausted, and I just had absolutely terrible GI issues that I am not going to share in this video. But for all intensive purposes, I just could not leave the house. I was the busiest I'd ever been. This was now August of 2024. And like I said, I had probably a couple dozen clients under contract. I'd committed to other clients that were coming to town. I had people reaching out. It seemed like every single day, sometimes multiple people a day, of new leads. And I was going through all of this in my personal life. So it was one of the hardest things that I've ever gone through. It was such an amazing thing to be so supported in my business, and I genuinely loved helping all of these clients, but I just physically couldn't keep up with it. I had to rely on some other agents to do showings for me and some walkthroughs. Like I said, I just couldn't physically leave the house for a couple of months. And this was just so challenging and confronting to me. I've always been somebody that just works hard and is reliable. And it was bringing up just so much for myself personally that I couldn't deliver in the level I wanted to with my clients. Of course, ultimately that worked out because I had other professionals that stepped in and were there for me when I needed them. But it made me realize that I needed to do something different and more sustainable. I didn't want my entire business being dependent on my health. It was really scary to think about how your entire business as an agent can just dry up if you get sick, or a family member gets sick, or something happens in your house that you're needing to attend to, like in my case, dealing with all of the remediation. I really wanted to come up with a business that was more sustainable. And like I said, one of my personal bugaboo areas is overworking. I've been like this my whole life. I think it was modeled to me, and I just work myself into the ground. It's like I can't stop, and I just keep pushing and pushing. I've also noticed that I had a big habit of people pleasing, which on one hand can be great in this industry with clients, but you also really need to have boundaries and not just people please all the time, because again, you will burn out, and that is not sustainable or a good recipe for a healthy life. So I have really spent so much of my time and energy and resources over the last couple of years to not only heal my body, but to heal some of these patterns around work, and to truly create a sustainable business where I don't burn out and that I can actually enjoy. And that's a lot of what we are talking about here on this channel. So if this is resonating with you and hitting home, then definitely make sure that you subscribe so you can continue to get some of my tips and strategies for how to execute this in your business. All right, so going back now to the production and how my career continued despite all of this craziness going on in my personal life. As I said earlier, in 2023, I had $4.6 million in volume with 6 closings. In 2024, I had 37 closings with $19 million in volume. That was 4x the amount of volume that I had done the year before, and 78% of those closings came from YouTube. So it was by and large the biggest portion of my business. And I'm so grateful to say that I earned over $500,000 in GCI that year alone. Now in 2025, I intentionally slowed it down a bit, given all the things that I was going through. And I'll come back to starting my team in just a minute, but just to wrap this all up as far as production goes, in 2025, I had 21 closings, 71% of which came from YouTube, so it's still a huge part of my business. I did $14 million in personal production, and I was still able to earn over $500,000 in GCI. Now, by the way, if these numbers are staggering to you and maybe you have a YouTube channel and you're not seeing results from it, I have a freebie you can download called the YouTube Reset. It's a complete workbook on how to fix your channel and fill your pipeline within 30 days. I share with you why your channel isn't working and how to fix it. And even if you're new and don't have a YouTube channel yet, this is going to help you learn how to do the right things from day one. Go to agentselevated.co/reset to download the freebie. All right, so one of the things I decided I wanted to do to make my business more sustainable is that I decided to start a team. The ins and outs of that I will detail in another video in the future. But again, I knew this couldn't all rely on me, and I wasn't physically in a space where I could take on a ton of business, but we still had the leads coming in. So I talked to one of my friends, Amanda Wilson, also at EXP, who just happened to be my sponsor at EXP. And over the course of a couple of months, we put together the framework for a team. And she really has been such an integral part to getting the team off the ground. I'm so grateful for her. We called it the Elevate team, and today we have 4 agents, so it's the 2 of us and 2 other women that have been with us since day one, Jessica and Michaela. And it's really been so nourishing for my heart to have these other women in my life. And it's, it can just be so lonely when you're an agent. When I was solo and I just had all this stuff coming at me, it was really hard. And so now to have this collaboration and small community built in has just been such a refreshing change of pace. Again, building a team is a whole other ball game, and I will make a video about it at some point because that has been very challenging in a lot of ways as well. And I've definitely made mistakes as I tried building that team. I think we're in a great place today, but that was also not an easy journey over the course of 2025. But here, kicking off 2026, I think we're really in a sweet spot with the team. Like I said, I'm still taking some personal transactions. I'm just taking the clients that feel the most aligned for me, and I'm handing the rest off to my team. I'm really prioritizing my own health and well-being first and foremost, because I still struggle with certain health conditions. I don't really want to get into the ins and outs of that here. I think the mold was just the catalyst, the straw that broke the camel's back that ended up revealing deeper things going on. Again, I've been tending to that over the last couple of years, but it's really at the forefront of my awareness every single day. And I know that I can't push myself so hard like I used to. I just physically can't do it. And ultimately, nothing has really become more important to me now than making sure that I'm healthy. If I'm not healthy, I can't serve my clients, I can't serve my team. And so today, it's very important to me that I take care of myself, that I spend time outside, that I work out, that I really tend to my mindset. There is so much that goes into health, and I do want to talk more about that on the channel because I don't think we talk about that enough as agents. Most agents just burn themselves into the ground, and I don't want that for myself, and I don't want that for you. So I will be sharing more on this channel about how to keep ourselves healthy in this business so that we can have a long, sustainable, enjoyable career. In 2026, I'm also just focused on the high-level priorities in my business. And one of those things is helping other agents. It's really a passion of mine. I love seeing other people succeed. And I created this YouTube channel so that I could just speak to you as I'm speaking to you right now, from the heart, and sharing practical things that have worked for me, tips and tricks on strategy, including YouTube as well as other things, and bringing on other people in the industry that could also be supportive for you. This is really a passion project of mine, so if this sounds like the type of content that you would enjoy, then please subscribe to this channel. I put out new content all of the time, and I just really appreciate you being here. If you made it to this far in the video, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope that you got something out of it. All my contact information is below, so if you do want to reach out to me to discuss anything, please do so. I look forward to connecting with you, and I will see you in the next video.